live right now?
John, are we good to go?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Producer John, thank you. You're the
Yeah.
man. All right. So we all love each other's families,
Mhm.
and we all have children. And
To death. Yeah.
Yes, and they're all the same age, which is super awesome. And we do it for the kids. I just want to let you guys know, I left my family at home.
Yeah.
You
You
know why?
win.
You know
You
why
won.
I left my family at home? Because I didn't want to be distracted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with that being said, I love every one of our I love every one of our wives. I respect every one of them individually. But when it's time to work, it's time to work.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's I don't know if it's a song or Let Him Cook. Let Him Cook.
Let him cook.
We were trying to cook.
Yeah.
And someone put out our fire.
So I don't know whose decision it was, and somebody's going to crucify me. Which, let's go into one thing. So on Eric's 40th birthday,
Oh man.
we're going to go into this right now.
This poor guy.
Here we go.
So
Poor
I'm going to
guy.
go off on a tangent right now, and I usually do this because I'm a bit of an asshole. Well, I just kind of speak on it. So we were all drinking, great time. Eric, can you show your shirt?
Oh yeah, the shirt's on.
The shirt's
What
on.
a great, compelling time to talk
Made
about
by
this.
Kate's Creation.
Yeah,
Thank you, thank you.
Kids Creations Facebook. Hit it up.
So it was one of the most epic parties that I've ever
Volume
been.
40.
Yes, it was one of the most epic parties I've ever been a part of. However, all the guys, it was probably about 2:00 in the morning. We had some Illuminatis, which is freaking awesome.
Leftover loose,
and
yeah.
Well,
Never
Eric
had
didn't get any.
If you've never had Chicago deep dish pizza,
You got to go to Lou's
Lou Malnati's.
after Pequod's.
Eric puts his stamp on Lou Malnati's. I put Lou Malnati's number one.
Whoa.
Some people put
Whoa.
Pequod's. Some people put Pequod's number one. Pequod's is my safe number two. Lou Malnati's deep dish pizza. If any of our podcast viewers come out from a foreign state, you want to rock with us,
I'll consider Wisconsin a port state.
Oh, for sure. They don't sell alcohol after 9 to 5.
Eric will buy you some Lou Malnati's.
Whoa.
You make sure you spot me,
Whoa.
spot us. I'll bring you out. We'll share it together. We'll share some stories.
So,
Continue.
so what? Anyway, so we had a conversation, and somehow I got stuck in the kitchen.
Yeah.
With every wife from this party.
Yeah. Not
So
good.
at some point, I did.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster, Joe. I don't know.
It
what
really
you're
was.
It's not good.
And I was not drinking whiskey at the time. I was drinking vodka. But anyway, that's not the point. The
That
point,
sounds like a disaster as well.
the point is that there was a question asked about our children, and I had a daughter, or well, not me, my current wife, then girlfriend, gave birth to our first daughter at a very young age. So therefore, in my mind, I grew up. But I also like
No choice. What a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So I like to say I grew up with my daughter. She didn't ruin my life. I love her, and I will do everything for that child. And I said that in your kitchen. And I kind of had a bad comment that said, when it comes to my wife or my child, and I didn't mean it in a bad way, but I kind of said that my blood is my blood. I will die for it. That as relationships, they can come and go. And that was, we do see relationships that fall apart.
I love this topic because we actually do not see eye to eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
I actually
We
love
don't.
this.
And Eric and I have discussed this several times. When it comes to children and parents and wives and just all of it, all of the above. The way, I guess the dad that I want to be, I want to be the dad that I didn't.
Yeah.
And
I think that makes.
and that's what I
Yeah,
strive
that's
for.
a
I mean, that's
huge
me all day,
motivation
yeah.
factor.
Yeah.
And I want to be that for my kids. So the way I go about my life, and I respect anybody that goes about this with their kids, or a different direction. Some people feel like they want to give their lives to their kids, or that their kids kind of, and I don't mean to go biblical, but give their lives to their father, to their God, to whoever, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I believe that I brought these children in this world. I owe them everything. So my firstborn, even my younger one, but my firstborn has created the man that I have become.
And no disrespect, that is kind of what I would say an old school mentality, but it also is created by a faith-based culture, and it's created by a culture that we're kind of lacking in America.
Absolutely,
where
absolutely,
generationalism matters, where you came from matters, both good and bad,
absolutely.
and
Decisions matter.
Yes.
decisions matter. Decisions have consequences. Discipline that a society can have a railroad track to follow is not a bad thing, but that accountability matters. And so, coming from thousands of years ago, where firstborn sons or firstborn daughters gained the land and then things passed forward generationally.
Yes.
That is a concept that I think has been abandoned that has great value.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's one of those things where, and my daughter will tell you that I don't have a favorite, but I do have best friends, and I don't like to use that term best friends, but there's something that about her that she has done something to my life that definitely changed it. Because without her, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah.
And that's just reality. So that
Yeah.
was one thing that I was trying to express in your kitchen, and I think I had about.
My kitchen is a dangerous place.
Yeah,
we all
very
acknowledge
dangerous.
Don't go into the
It's
Kate's
a-
kitchen. Yeah.
when you walk into my kitchen, you
No.
find yourself at a super island, and it's endearing. They're like, wow, this is large. People can talk here. People can gather here.
Trouble. I
But,
think
but if I'm
You've
putting
been sucked
perspective,
into the vortex.
but if I'm putting the perspective, it's double the width, double the length, and a lot of people.
yeah. I think
A
like
lot
I think
of
if you
opinions can form.
Oh,
That's exactly
opinions.
what I'm getting at.
I think if you I think it's what's cool, and if you have the right people, and people can listen to everyone else's different experiences, different perspectives on things. I think that's when it gets
Yes.
to be acceptable, right? And-
Absolutely.
right. So you have that with you and your daughter and all those things like that. I have the way that I parent and
Absolutely.
things that I change and do differently than the way I was brought up, right? And
Mhm.
and father differently than the way my dad did, right? And things that he did or didn't do that are it make an impact on how I parent my kids, right?
They
And
shape
Absolutely.
yeah, and the way that we do things differently, right?
Whether it's
And-
right or wrong,
Yeah.
it still shapes you.
yeah, and I think you said it earlier, like it's a positive, it's the negatives, and all that stuff shapes you and turns you into who you are. And could we all parent better?
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. We
all
do,
make mistakes.
do we all parent different?
Absolutely.
100%, right?
Mhm.
I might not agree what Nico does, or I might not agree what Eric does with his kids, and they might not agree with what I do.
I
But
don't agree with that.
but at the end of the day, we all understand and respect each other's decisions, and it's not like I'm judging Nico because he did
Yes.
this, or I'm judging Eric, and vice versa. I think it's a big deal when it comes to parenting and friendship, honestly.
I think-
Absolutely.
I think empathy, because one of the things that I see, not just through my career, but that I see happening around us in society, is you have a column, you have an area where uniqueness is celebrated, and then you have another column where uniqueness is snuffed.
Yeah.
And I think they're the wrong columns. I think we need to accept and celebrate individuality in the way God created people and the way that people have different personalities, and the way they grow and the way they learn and the way that, hey, I can learn something from everyone
Yeah.
around me.
Oh yeah,
And
100%.
I think that's huge.
But what happens in our society, so the uniqueness of everyone and the beauty with which they're created and celebrated is important.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things that's numbed out is the fact that with that, you see that some people overvalue the individual over the whole and say, your uniqueness, even if I disagree with it, I need to accept it no matter what.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
when you go to those extents, that's where empathy is actually died. You're no longer, and I want to segue back to what you talked about that evening. We need to trust and accept and love each other for their uniqueness,
Mhm.
but we are also allowed to disagree.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
now
and I
we
think
live
that's
in a
why-
society where it's like
Well, and
that's shunned.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we, and I'm going to even bring John into this, even though he's not on camera, but yet he's still one of
Producer John.
us. That's
Yeah.
producer John.
Let's
But that's one of the things where the four of us, I think that we all live our lives a little bit different. We all parent different.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where they say it takes a community to raise a child. When you put one of our children, when one of our children has some sort of adversity, we all come together.
Yeah.
And both the husbands and wives. We're never going to let our children fail. We're never going to let our children get hurt.
Yeah.
We all stick together. That's where we come together. But we're allowed to have those differences.
Yeah.
So when I was getting crucified in that kitchen, I
back to the kitchen.
Yeah.
Slight exaggeration. He was not impaled on wood.
Ah,
almost
close.
almost. But that's one of those things where again, again, I may have said some things that may have not been popular.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but at the same time, everybody knows that for any one of our children, I'll be the first to die for them.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one there. Even if it's not my kid, if it's one of those things where somebody's messing with one of our children, you better hope that I'm not there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You better hope that I'm not around, because every one of us here means something to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that personally, because I feel like kids are always off.
Always.
And as adults,
Some people don't understand that.
and
though.
some people don't understand it.
Protecting children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel as adults, we can have that conversation, whether we agree or not. I think we can have that conversation, and as adults, we should be able to understand one another,
yeah,
not necessarily agree
correct.
with one another.
Mature, open adults can have
Yes.
those conversations.
Absolutely.
The problem is now that most people can't do that.
There's too many people getting offended by the slightest word.
Yeah.
I
Instead of
would-
just talking it out
I would-
Absolutely.
I
or
wouldn't even-
accepting.
I wouldn't even go
Yes.
into most, because I try to leave space. I try to leave grace
Which is I
for
can respect that.
for the
Yeah.
unspoken. What I would say, Joe, and I agree with you in this, is allow. Because sometimes it's not a majority, but it is the ones you hear.
The
Yeah.
loudest.
It's
That's a
the
great
one.
point.
The
It's the
loudest.
ones who speak, and you're flooded with all of these emotions and all these things, and it's like you're not being empathetic. But really, is common society being empathetic?
As a-
Maybe they are, but it's that loud minority that begins to pressurize and snuff. And how many people are silenced from what they really feel
Absolutely.
because they're afraid of losing their job, being judged,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. When in reality, I think the most loving circumstance is true empathy. True empathy requires, hey, it requires humility. It requires
Mhm.
that acknowledgement. You know what? I haven't lived in your shoes. I haven't lived in your shoes. But talk to me, and my ears and my heart are open.
Isn't that the true origination of diversity? That as far as being diverse and being able to understand everybody's difference and understanding everybody's
Yeah.
upbringing,
Ethnically, religiously,
no matter what it
gender,
is, diversity as a
whatever.
whole, no matter which way you slice it.
Yeah.
We all, as adults, we should be able to understand and not pass judgment on one another. So whether it's okay, so we all parent a different way, we all feel a different thing, but as long as we are trying to raise children in a society, and this goes across the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be one of those models that say, like I'm not gonna be one of those kind of people, because there are other cultures that believe in different things.
Yeah.
and we are fortunate to live, and I'm gonna say it like it is. We live in the best country in the world.
Yeah.
and
Love
that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Um,
Even if the person running it.
Yes.
However, there's some
We
other
have
great-
flaws.
There are some other great countries.
Yes,
Mhm.
we have
There's
flaws.
some
Don't get
other
me wrong.
Great countries. And there's some other.
Not so great country.
Correct. And
Yeah.
and we have flaws, but that's what we were founded on. We were founded on different countries coming to America and finding that American dream, and doing that in the right way, and doing that and having that overall belief, right? But at the same time, if we all believe in raising good human beings to the
Yep.
world, not just a country, not just a state, not just a city, but to the world in general.
Yeah.
I think if we all can respect that, I think that's a solid goal. But when you have different beliefs and somebody's judgmental on the way you raise your kids, the way you raise your kids, the way you raise your kids, when you get that judgmental feeling, that's where you get that hatred in your heart.
Yeah.
That's where you get the animosity in your heart. And I feel
People
like too
don't
many
like
people,
things that are different.
yeah,
Right.
they don't like different, and they don't like hard.
Yeah.
But guess what? Whether I believe in that's the way you raise your kid, I respect that, because I have nothing but love in my heart.
Yeah, I think you got to take everything as a learning opportunity, right?
Absolutely.
Obviously, we're not talking about where we work and things like that. That's off limits.
Logistics.
Yeah, I'm in logistics. But looking at the youth that is growing up now, right? And
Yes.
if you ever get a chance to go and observe that, if it's at your kid's school, if you can volunteer to go work that event at your kid's school, whatever that looks like, to really sit there and watch these kids, and you can look at any kid and be like, your parent's a dick, your parent's a dick, your parent's a dick, your parent's cool, back to being a dick. I think
That was a half-baked reference.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's important to look at that and be like, all right, like, what is that kid being taught or not being taught,
Yeah.
or what being
At
told
home.
to do or not to do?
At home.
Yeah, and how can I adjust when I get home, right?
Absolutely.
And like I said, we were all brought up differently, right? You
Mhm.
know, I had parents that divorced super young, dad not super in the picture, not great as a role model, and the challenges that my mom faced as a single mom raising me, things like that, and things that she wasn't able to do as a single mom, and things that we want to do as parents with our girls is to ensure that we're doing the right thing and raising a kid that is not going to be a piece of shit in society, and give them all the opportunities that they need to be successful and put a good head on their shoulders and things like that. And Kate and I had a recent event that
Kate's the wife, by the way.
yeah, that's my wife.
Kate's Creations,
Yeah,
by the way. She makes awesome gear.
Her creations, they're fantastic.
Yeah, same
Including
person.
the ones she and
Super
Joe
awesome.
created together.
Which is
Their
how
children.
I met you guys. But we'll get
Yeah,
into that another
yeah, we'll
time.
get into that.
But keep going.
Yeah, we kind of came across some challenging things that we haven't done as parents, right? We have an almost 12-year-old, which is uncharted territory for me. She's my oldest, so going through all that and things that she's going through as a kid and how to direct her, how to, I don't even want to use the word influence, but how to guide her in the right direction, give her suggestions. Give her suggestions and how we would handle this. Yeah. And I don't want to mature her too early, but however it all panned out, she handled the situation that was presented to her as best as she could. And I know Kate and I are super proud of her for doing what she's done, how she handled it, and do things the right way. And it's not my way. It's not Kate's way. I think it's the right way. It's the right way that we should handle things as adults and then teaching our kids.
But that's one thing, that even as parents, I mean, like you said, you like to guide your children in the right direction. I mean, that you just hope that your child is going to be a good person in society.
Yeah.
And that's all you can do. I mean, you know, as far as coaching,
even the term good, though, good is a matter of perspective,
correct.
Which is why
yes.
we're talking about empathy right here.
Absolutely.
Can you walk alongside others who are different?
Yes. Yeah. And how you do that? I mean, because Eric and I coach, we coach sports. You know, what, it doesn't matter what sport it is. Coaching youth, I mean, we look at it as being involved in the community and trying to raise good humans to society.
Yeah,
right?
teach values.
Teach values, hard work. You know, winning,
discipline, strength.
Yes, because winning and losing,
community.
Yeah, and we live in a small community, so I think we all try to put forth that effort. Whether it's winning or losing, I mean, I think everybody needs to lose because you need to be a good loser. You need to know how to, and you need to know how to rebound. You need to know how to have sportsmanship. You need to know how to go about that because we're all going to fail in life, and that's 100%. Reality. And going back, I guess what I'm trying to bring forth is that I think I know your situation with your daughter, and that's what we were talking about the other day, where you kind of got to let her fail now.
Yeah.
And she has strived, and she has taken those steps to being very responsible about it. You'd rather have her fail now and have those hardships now than when she's 21 years old and that's the first time it's happening and her world falls apart.
Yeah.
And we kind of want to teach our children and the youth.
In education, I'm an educator. The term that they use now, which is it's different than when we grew up. When we grew up, it was called helicopter parents.
Yeah.
The analogy of helicopter parents who are swirling around, following their children, watching from above. Maybe they drop this or drop that. What now is called, they're called snowplow parents.
Ooh, I like that because it's really cold right now.
They literally carve the path for their children, and their parents plow ahead, and the children just get to walk this easy path. And in education, we talk about resilience and facing opposition, facing people who don't agree with you, facing people.
Which, by the way, I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that's healthy. I think that's healthy. I think that's absolutely 100% healthy.
When you make everyone your enemy, now you're creating opposition and you're distilling and destroying empathy. And going back to the kitchen on my birthday, because Nico hasn't fully fleshed that story out.
Not yet.
But
we will get there.
That is a distillation of empathy.
Absolutely.
You were trying to communicate, and I want to be very clear. Joe and I were not present for the conversation.
I was
This
there.
is-
Just not coherent.
No. Hold on.
I was
hold
not
that,
present.
hold that thought. These two were sleeping on the. Well, no.
I was sitting.
Eric was sleeping.
I was spraining my knee
He
upstairs.
he hurt his leg, so I
Yeah.
mean, he was upstairs. And when you turn 40, different things happen.
I'm old.
far away.
But Joe was too busy in the corner, just chilling by himself, doing his.
Probably eating the last of my lube on ice.
I didn't have any lose
No,
because there wasn't much left over. But
If I may
fine.
add to that, that was me. But
I
Joe
automatically
deserved.
mean he deserved what he got.
Yeah.
If he finished the lose, he deserved whatever he got.
I made eye contact with Joe, and he kind of gave me the "you're on your own." That's all I got to say about that. But
Then
but
it all came together.
it did. But as far as what we're getting at with the discussion, with what happened, with what transpired, I mean, having difference of opinions, I think it's healthy.
Yeah.
And
If you can accept it.
and over the past year,
And that's
I've
a
had
hard issue, not just an ear issue.
yes,
You
and,
can hear
yes,
and not accept.
and within the, I have gained a little bit of ground with the females over the past year. I mean, there are a few that I haven't seen since then, and
We love our wives. We love all the females. This is no commentary on them whatsoever.
no,
Just
absolutely, we would fight for every one of them.
Yeah.
and not a single one of them.
And honestly,
as
their
far as- they
difference
haven't
of
judged
opinion
me.
is a gift.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think it is.
The issue, and I want to be very clear because there are some wives that were involved in this conversation that were
Yes.
outside of our wives.
Yeah.
They were outside
of
the circle,
our
if
inner
you will.
circle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so to speak.
absolutely.
Like, I believe God gives us our wives to have different opinions, different things that they are empathetic to naturally than we are, because we are a culmination, we are a unit that is stronger together than we are individually apart.
Absolutely.
But when you lack empathy, how much can you work together?
Yes.
So I think that is the thing. As a husband and wife, I would encourage all the people who are seeking engagement, getting ready to be married, or those who are married. If you're not connecting empathetically with your spouse, you are missing out on God's greater level for your plan and what, the way you
Yes.
can work together. And Joe and Nico have far more experience in this than I do. But that unit becomes stronger when the empathy is strong.
Yeah, and to build on that, and I'm not trying to be cliche, and I'm not trying to, and my wife is probably going to watch this, and I'm not.
We
trying,
love you, Kristen.
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to kiss her
Watch it.
rear end or anything, but I have
Watch it.
I tell her all the time, and because I truly mean it, when you are truly married to your best friend, it
Yeah.
makes it easy.
Yeah.
It makes those hard times easier.
Yep.
We all get emotional. We all have our hard times. We all have our hardships. Whatever you want to say, we all have our flaws. But when I know that I go home and I open that door, when I walk through that entryway of my house and I see her standing there with a smile on her face, all the worries go away. And that's something that I can truly say that I have. Not everybody has that.
Correct.
And when you don't have that, it makes it difficult. So those people that don't have that, I wish that they did, and I wish that they find it.
Yeah.
But I am lucky and fortunate enough that after that conversation, no matter how it turned, when we went home at night, I got a hug, I got a kiss, and I love you.
Right.
And that's all you can ask for.
Let me ask you something, because I know a little bit of the content of that conversation.
You do.
And the bridge you were talking about earlier in the podcast, talking about your daughter, and then what you just referenced, your beautiful wife, who we all love, like the concept of empathy that we've been discussing, and the concept of that bond, and the concept of found family. Each of us who have wives, that's found family.
Absolutely.
Growing up in a difficult home where your mom is carrying certain burdens and your dad is not, and all of these things, and we each of the three of us have our own experiences. That empathy is leveled up when you deal with found family, and each of our wives are found family. But if you feel free to extrapolate on what you were talking about that evening, in found family, the power of found family, and also the power of the bond of created family, and then obviously Joe and I, we each have our own experiences with that that are very unique to Nico, and that is the beauty of our friendship too. We can have those different perspectives on it, but also find the value in each other's experience.
Yeah, 100%. And that's one thing where, like I said, when I come home from work, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have a job that I love. I mean, my life, we all have our hardships, right? We all have our difficulties. We all have our hardships, whatever way you want to like. But I go to work. I wake up stupid early. You guys know that. I mean, you guys get a text from me at 1:30 in the morning because I responded to something that happened at 9 o'clock at night.
When you like my my Instagram reels I send you,
Yeah.
and I see them by 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I know. So,
Yeah,
I know you're.
but mind you, they're 4 hours old at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess what I'm getting at is I live a life right now where it's almost like a life of luxury.
Yeah.
Where I start at 4 a.m., get off at 12:30. I come home, pick up my daughter from Joe's front door, which is super awesome. I come home, my wife is there because she gets off at the same time, and I can't complain. Like, she truly is my best friend.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where people don't find. People search their whole lives and never get.
Yeah.
Some people feel like it's a physical attraction. Some people feel like it's a financial.
It's involved.
Yeah.
These things are
Yeah.
involved.
Yes. So when I first met my wife, I mean, there was that attraction. We had a daughter young. We grew to we built our family.
I just want to say, you were attracted and you made a child. I just want to make sure that that's how that works, because that seems very logical to me.
That's a man. That's a man and a woman.
Sometimes,
That's a man and a woman.
sometimes in this world, you're like, you know what? I was digging her.
Men's have
You don't
penises.
say.
Girls have
You
vaginas.
don't say.
Can I say something right now? She's 4 years older. Yeah. But anyway, as
Wheeling and dealing.
I mean, when you got it, you got it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
But when it comes to my wife, I don't stress about that kind of stuff. So it makes my decisions in my life easier.
Yeah.
And when you have that, it makes parenting tolerable.
Yeah.
And not saying that it's not, but I guess what I'm getting at is
It's a difficult gig. We all acknowledge
parenting's
that. All
tough.
those parents out there, you know, it's difficult.
it is tough. You're gonna get your 16-year-old that's gonna push back because something happened and she's just going through that phase. You're gonna have your 8-year-old that's pushing back because she doesn't know how to deal with her emotions. You're gonna get that.
Yeah.
You feel like you lose more than you win. And every night we lay our heads on the pillow praying that we've actually won more than we lost.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
You feel like
Yes.
you've lost.
Yeah. So it's funny. So, the three of us, we have all kids that are relatively close in age,
Yes.
right? You got your
We have an
old,
outlier or
yeah,
two.
we're close, right?
We're in the same mix.
Yeah. I have a couple other friends that they have daughters that are significantly younger. And I just look at them, we had my buddy Zach had a birthday party for his 1-year-old over the summer. And I go there and I see he's got a 1-year-old. I think his other daughter's like 4 or 5. And I'm like just watching and I'm like, you guys are so fucked. You have no idea what you're in for, and I'm sure just
and
like
that's
how
just waiting for elementary school.
yeah. I'm sure just how like I looked to like Nico when his older daughter, because she's a few years older than my oldest daughter, I looked at Nico and to see how they handle those situations that I know we're going to encounter and lean on him for those situations. I hope that they lean on me when it gets to that point, because their kids are going to slowly approach my daughter's ages and see what the challenges that we went through and dealt with and all that good stuff. So it's a fun show.
That's that. Like we said a little while ago, empathy involves listening.
Absolutely.
Empathy involves, hey, you have something of value.
Yeah.
Your story matters. And because of that, we can come together and we can bridge gaps. And that's that societal community bond. It takes a village that we have lost, and that our crew, people we love, our wives, all of our friends, John, everyone we're connected to, that's something we're trying to bridge. That's something we're trying to bridge with this podcast too. But everybody who watches out there, you are our village. We are your village. Lean on us. We'll lean on you. We aren't sitting here knowing more than anybody else. We just live what we live, and hopefully we can empathize with each other.
Yeah.
And to end of that, or to add to that, we're all grinding with.
Yep.
We're not over here talking about, oh, we know more. We've been through this. Guaranteed there are people out there that are going to listen like, oh man, I could relate.
Yeah.
Oh man, like, yes, we were there. We are there. And when I know that I'm not the only one going through it, I'm only human.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. You know, there's going to be some hardships. There's going to be hard times.
Ooh, I was gonna,
And you know, when
I
I
was
said
gonna
that, I
do
knew he was
that.
going to
Yeah.
do that. I
was
really
gonna
did.
I was gonna go with a different route though. There's
No.
another,
I knew he was going to go there.
Oh,
Do it.
It's I think it's Christina Perry. John,
Christina with an I.
John, I
John.
need some help
John.
here. Pretty sure it's Christina
It
Perry.
definitely wasn't Miley Cyrus.
While we're
No,
passing
I
on
wish.
Morgan Freeman, Nico,
Flowers.
let's
Guilty pleasure.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
here.
Oh,
Flowers.
banger!
Well, who is it? Oh, wow.
Nailed it.
See?
Nailed it.
Hey, I'll give you 10 points for that one.
Yeah,
Only
Christina
10,
Perry.
though. Only 10.
10
Yeah.
invisible points that get you nowhere.
Yeah.
We don't even have
We
a
love those
whiteboard for
points.
the score.
We're
but,
gonna
but
keep
if
track.
anybody's listening out there, Joe's up 10.
I'm up 10. Everyone else is 0.
Yeah.
Losers.
Don't call me a 0. That's not very empathetic.
Is it sympathetic when I'm with you?
Is
Is that the word?
Yeah.
You're the
Yes.
teacher. Is that
But
how
You
that
guys
works?
are in the
But-
same boat.
Is he
The same ocean, different boat.
Is
Whoa,
he meeting us
that's
in
a
the
great point.
shoes that we're in the walk of 0?
Did you just call me 0?
I said you have 0.
Or the year of 0? Because I do like that album.
Now I'm thinking about Smashing
The
Pumpkins.
year 0. My bad.
Let's everything connects to music.
Yeah.
Go ahead and share that so that the story of that night, let's kind of bring that in. Your first daughter, Bella, and that bond that you have, and we all have experienced different bonds in our life. Empathy with our wives, empathy with our kids. Those of you who are single, we've all been there. We've all been in those places where we've felt whole, where we've felt empty, and sometimes that extra level bond, sometimes it's coworker, sometimes it's friendship, sometimes it's marriage, sometimes it's child
hmm
that changes you. And for you, it was that journey through being a dad,
Yes.
growing up, as you shared earlier, with your daughter.
Yes.
And you evolved, she evolved. She came into this world, and then you became.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where, and there's a lot of young parents out there. You know,
We're here for
And-
you.
and I'm gonna say
young
something very-
parents, we're here for
I'm
you.
going to say something very inappropriate. Young and dumb and full of cum. I mean, that's just the real.
Yeah.
That's just where it was.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not even sure what that means, but
Yeah.
it sounds
I knew.
logical.
Yeah.
So we might have to cut that because it's not really appropriate for going into what we're going.
I think
But
we can
it's
bleep. We
just-
can bleep it.
We could probably bleep it.
We can bleep it.
We could bleep it.
Yeah.
But I guess-
John,
It sounds
John,
like it makes
find
can you
out.
bleep, can
Find
you bleep
out.
that?
Producer John.
John
find
will
out.
figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out. But I guess what I'm getting at is, yes, I was a young dad.
How old? Let's talk to the peeps. How old were you?
I was, let's see, I was 20 when she was, do the math, 2
Yeah,
minus 9.
yeah.
Yes, I was definitely 20 years old.
Okay.
Uh,
Young. That's
I was
young.
Very young. So I went to Texas to go to school. Right before I went to Texas, I had just met my now wife, current fling, if you will. She wasn't even a girl. I worked at a bar,
Just hitting it.
4 years older.
That's
Obviously,
yeah.
let's put context on it. Obviously, she was worth it because he came back
Yeah.
and put a ring on.
Yeah. Reference number 2.
Yeah. So anyway, so I went down to Texas to go to school. Did not work out because I drank too much alcohol, as you can tell.
Yep.
So I came back. All right.
He's still on his first class. Though.
Yeah.
No, I keep filling it during breaks, so we're good. So we had my daughter young. I just turned 20 years old, and when I found out my girlfriend at the time was pregnant, I decided to start my career where I'm at now. I just needed to make some money to get to where I'm at. So her age matches the years I've been at my company, which they've been definitely taking care of. But as far as being a dad, very young, and at the time I didn't know what it was like to be a dad, to be a father. I mean, those are two different words.
Yeah.
You can be a father because you birth a child, because you're a contributor to birthing a child. A dad to me is being a dad, a daddy. When I hear my girls call me daddy, that's so when I'm 20 years old, I don't know what to do. You know, I see my girlfriend at the time giving birth. I don't even know if she loves me. I mean, it's a whirlwind. I have no idea what's going on. Her family at the time, and I love every individual person in her family. I mean, they've given me, but they kind of said, we have no faith in this kid. We don't think he's going to work out. I took that personally. I said, I am not going to be the father that my father was to me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to knock my father. I have a stepdad and I have a father. Both contributed to my life and formed who I am. to a certain point. But once I saw and held my daughter for the first time, that changed.
Yep.
That changes who you are.
Yep.
And as a young individual, it's a shock.
Oh yeah.
So that's where right now the things that I go through with my daughter, I'm still learning. And I'm scared shitless for her to drive in the snowy. Like there are things that are going on right now that boyfriends, work, school. I didn't go to college. Like I never finished college. She's applying for colleges. These are
Yeah.
big things in her life. And I'm going with her. But that is one thing that I cherish because she looks at me
Huge.
the way I look at her. She looks at me as being, that's my daddy. She won't say daddy, but she knows. That's my daddy. He will fight and die.
Yeah.
And I would do the same thing. That can't be changed. And
that
that's big to me.
reliance, that
Yeah.
reliance is such a
Yeah.
huge thing because I think when you're talking about found family, we're talking about marriages and stuff like that. One of the pieces that obviously we each have our own feelings about our own wives, about marriage, and about community, and whatever that means in terms of bond. Some of you out there maybe not be married, but you may feel super bonded to somebody. Like when there is this distinction of found family and choice, and then things that cascade out of natural life circumstance. And part of my story is, and we'll get to that in a little bit later, maybe not even in this podcast because I want to focus on this story right now. But like, there is no better or worse. There's just different.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
found family can be as impactful.
Yes.
It really depends on the power that you give that situation.
Yes.
And based on what you were saying earlier, you're talking about the difference between a father and a dad. I experienced that from a little bit of a different angle, but your experiences, which is empathy, Joe and I stepping into your experiences and listening to you and feeling what you lived through, that experience, the way that you grew up, the difference between father and dad, and even the definitions of those terms.
Yeah.
Because Joe and I have a little bit, we have Joe's definition, my definition of those terms.
Yeah.
And how, but the experience that you live with those terms and how that shaped your relationship with your daughter, the way that you felt compelled to step up and be a man.
100%.
Because, like, being a man at 20, I'm not going to speak for Joe.
No.
I will speak to everyone who met me at 20. I was not a man at 20.
No.
I was a boy at
Yep.
20. And, like, to become a man, obviously that's a choice. So, obviously, that choice is involved in that. But it's also discipline and following the path that you've been given and doing it to the greatest capabilities you have. And a lot of people that's not asked of them. When I was 20 years old, I was sitting on a couch watching my friends do a keg stand in the corner at college. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
my friends,
Couple of those.
they went.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether I was involved in that or not, that wasn't maturity. That wasn't found family. That wasn't family in any respect. That wasn't even manhood. And part of this podcast, one of the themes of this podcast is manhood. Like, what do we become? Who
Yep.
are we?
Yeah. Just dudes being dudes.
Yeah, and so
Dudes being dudes.
Yep.
you being on that journey when you were on that journey is a beautiful and unique experience.
Mhm.
And you didn't have a choice. You matured.
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Had to.
It was one of those things where you got to grow up, and when it comes to her, she knows what she means.
Yeah.
And vice versa. But by no means is my younger daughter feeling. And no
It's just
parent.
a different relationship.
It really is
all it
because you're at a different point in your life. They're at a different point in their life.
Yep.
I mean, some people joke around and say favorite here, favorite there, but you know, as a parent, you don't
It's
have favorites.
contextual.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
Contextual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you're growing up as a 1-year-old and you're forced to grow up, yeah, those my actions have consequences, and I get that. But one of those things where, yes, I kind of took that in stride and said, I'm not going to give up on her. She is going to be my best friend.
Yeah.
And she has been my best friend. And that's one of those things where I can handle it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And I definitely love it. And that's what started that conversation in your house.
I'd like to ask a question, and I feel like this connects into the conversation at the house, but it's also something you referenced earlier. you talk about best friend
Mhm.
and how you came into that, but he also referenced some adversity that he faced. I think sometimes as men, I'm not judging genders or anything like that, but sometimes you need a finger in your chest.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's power in somebody giving you the finger and saying, you can't do this. And then you're like,
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you
It-
shared that.
It's almost like you said it. You know, it's one of those things where, and I'm not going to drop names or anything like that, but my wife, my now wife, her stepmom, kind of told me that you are not half the man that her ex was.
Yeah.
You are never going to be a part of the family. So no matter what you do, you're not going to succeed. And I took that personally.
Yeah. Internally, you're like, hey, fuck off.
And you two know me better than that. And I looked at her in the eyes and said, "Fuck you, challenge accepted."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's
that was
that's
a
how I get down.
Poor decision on you.
Yeah,
So
that's
what-
how
what's-
I get down.
What's cool about that though is when we're talking about empathy and all these and people who are not empathetic, they can be a gift to people who are empathetic.
Absolutely.
That comment to you was a gift.
Oh yeah.
Even
Hell
though
yeah.
in the moment it feels like a curse, it's a gift that propelled you forward.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that lit the fire. And that's one of those things where I'm not giving up on this child.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving up on my relationship or my marriage. Yeah, we've seen some hardships. We
Oh,
went through some
yeah.
rough times. Who doesn't?
Yeah. 100%.
But at the same time, when you develop that, and you develop that who you need to be as a man,
Yeah.
I think one day all I want to hear is, "Daddy, I love you. Thank you."
Yeah.
If I hear that sentence, I'm okay.
So we're gonna wrap up this podcast. If you could share with us, I know we've left you guys on a cliffhanger.
A little.
That conversation, can you kind of wrap that up for us and how you felt a little bit off on an island about your feelings for your first daughter and everything that went down?
Well, and I guess what started it was, when alcohol gets involved, people get a little emotional. We all know.
What?
That's a little weird. That's a little.
Honestly, I could say I don't. It's either for me, it's like I'm drinking or I'm blacked out.
But we've seen that, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Another day.
Are those emotions?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
no psychiatrist.
Yeah. Go on.
I guess
I digress.
the comment that was said that night, and I'm paraphrasing because like I said, alcohol was involved, but it was your wife or your children. And I had a comment along the lines of, "My wife is my wife, and that's the relationship.
Yep.
That can come and go. We can break up tomorrow, but my children are still my children. I will never give up on my children. And if I'm forced to choose my relationship over my child, naturally my heart says I'm going to take my children 100% of the way." Now, that's not a popular comment because, and we've discussed this before, whether it's your spouse.
We disagree on
Yeah,
this.
we disagree on it.
Okay.
And we love each other for it because we can have that conversation. My wife knows that she's my best friend, but if we were to separate, I support her, and I want her to be as happy as she
Yep.
can be. That's just me in my heart because I don't have a hatred. My wife is my best friend, and I don't want to see her hurt. But at the same time, if I have to choose one or the other, my daughter is still my blood, and I would give everything for them.
Yep.
And that's what started the conversation, and that is where I almost got that star on my throat. No, actually, I don't have a star on my throat, but that is where that's what started the conversation, and it was very unpopular. And I know what I was saying and how it was offensive, if you will, to certain individuals that feel a certain way. But it by no means was it a diss to my wife.
Right.
It was more a compliment. So,
Yeah.
and that's where I was getting at. But it's just how you use the word.
And the way places we've been, the things we've seen, and the things that you've experienced being 20 years old,
Mhm.
having grown up not only your career but your adulthood with your daughter.
Yeah.
That shapes who you
Oh yeah. 100%.
Mhm.
100% does. Yeah. Your
So,
kids define you, I think, to a certain point.
They do.
They
They
do.
do. They really do.
I think it like almost measures success and failure,
They
right?
can.
I think it does. And
That not everyone on this planet gets to write a legacy, but your children are part of a legacy that can be written. And those of you
Yes.
who are single and never have children, you can still write a legacy.
Yeah.
But I think for those of us who have children, you cannot deny that your children are a part of your legacy. That's not
Oh,
something
yeah.
like the way your children go. That is part of your legacy, and it cannot be removed.
And I think you said it right. If you have a children or not, and I have a lot of friends that don't have children, and by no means do I feel like anybody's life or legacy is any less value. Um, having children just prolong.
Yeah,
It really
100%.
just takes to different generations.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that story.
Appreciate it,
It's huge and important and part of depth, and we love sharing with you guys. And hopefully, we can continue to empathize with you guys. Share with us in the comments whatever you guys see. Our family journeys. Joe and I will be sharing that in the future. Thank you, Nico, for sharing it.
Yeah,
And
hell yeah.
hopefully, we can continue to dig deep with you guys here on the More Taco Encounter. We'll see you next time.